What happens when a cartel boat carrying millions in cocaine crosses paths with a U.S. Navy destroyer? On May 25, 2025, in the Caribbean Sea, that exact scenario unfolded. A suspicious vessel with no flag and no identification was detected, tracked, intercepted, and boarded by the guided missile destroyer USS Gravely and its embarked Coast Guard law enforcement detachment. By the end of the operation, over 860 pounds of cocaine, worth more than $13 million, was taken off the water, 3 suspects were detained, and a cartel network lost one of its major shipments. It began with a U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft conducting surveillance over a busy stretch of the Caribbean, an area known as a funnel, one of the main maritime corridors used by South American cartels to push narcotics northward toward the United States. At approximately 6 o'clock local time, the P-8 crew spotted a vessel of interest. A small craft with no flag, no identifying markings, and no automatic identification system, AIS, transmission. This immediately raised concern. Legitimate fishing and commercial vessels in international waters nearly always display some form of registration or at least respond to hails. This boat did neither. The aircraft relayed the sighting to USS Gravely, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer operating in the region under U.S. Northern Command's Maritime Homeland Defense Authority. The USS Gravely's mission was straightforward but critical: intercept and stop threats at sea before they reach American shores. High-priority targets include narcotics shipments, as every intercepted load cuts into cartel profits and reduces the flow of drugs that fuel violence and addiction across communities back home. On board Gravely was Coast Guard Law Enforcement Detachment 401, known as LED 401. These are specialized teams trained in boarding, search, and seizure operations at sea. Their role is to legally and tactically handle suspected smuggling vessels, from the moment of interception through evidence collection, ensuring airtight cases that can withstand prosecution in court. Shortly after 6 o'clock, Gravely's radar picked up the suspect vessel. Repeated attempts to establish radio contact failed. The destroyer's commanding officer issued the order to intercept immediately. 2 rigid-hull inflatable boats, RHIBs, launched from the destroyer carrying the boarding team. As the RHIBs closed in, sailors prepared M4 carbines, boarding gear, and body cameras. From the destroyer's bridge, officers tracked every movement, monitoring distance, speed, and wave conditions. Boarding at sea is inherently dangerous. One mistake can escalate into violence or even capsizing. The small vessel gave off the appearance of a fishing boat, but trained eyes noted inconsistencies. Abnormal fuel line configurations, irregular weight distribution, and wake patterns inconsistent with normal fishing operations. These subtle details strongly suggested modifications to hide contraband. Approaching cautiously, the RHIB crews issued commands through loudspeakers. "Identify yourselves. Prepare to be boarded." No response. The silence only reinforced suspicions. The boarding team secured lines and carefully stepped aboard. To their surprise, no one immediately appeared on deck. The vessel seemed abandoned. But smugglers often hide below decks, hoping to launch a surprise attack or destroy evidence before capture. The team split into 2 groups. One moved toward the small cabin area, while the other inspected the engine compartment and checked for hidden storage compartments. Almost immediately, signs of tampering were evident. Panels had been recently repainted. Flooring had been modified. These indicators are consistent with the construction of concealed storage spaces, false compartments designed to evade detection. Meanwhile, Gravely maintained overwatch. Lookouts scanned the horizon for additional fast boats that might attempt to recover the smuggler crew or cargo. Helicopters aboard stood on standby. All communications were encrypted and routed back to regional command centers, ensuring situational awareness across multiple units. Inside the suspect vessel, the boarding team soon located the first signs of contraband. In the cargo hold, beneath a canvas tarp, they discovered 19 tightly wrapped bundles. Each was triple sealed in burlap, heavy plastic, and duct tape. A telltale indicator, cartel-style packaging designed to survive moisture and long voyages. One bundle was cut open. Inside were kilogram-sized bricks of off-white powder, stamped with a green S, a marking linked to a specific cartel trafficking network. Chemical field tests confirmed it: cocaine. The weight of the load, approximately 860 pounds, translated to over $13 million in street value. The 3 suspected smugglers, now located on deck, offered no resistance. They were mid-30s, claimed to be fishermen, but could not provide paperwork or explanations consistent with legal operations. They spoke little, exchanging brief remarks in Spanish, but otherwise remained silent. While security personnel guarded the detainees, the LE-Det continued a systematic search. Specialized tools, such as handheld scanners for hull thickness, fiber optic cameras for narrow spaces, and tapping methods for detecting hollow compartments, were employed. These measures ensure no hidden caches or booby traps were missed. Cartel boats have been known to carry flooding devices designed to destroy evidence if compartments are opened incorrectly. Every discovery was documented meticulously. Photographs were taken of packaging, serial numbers, and compartment modifications. GPS coordinates, sea state, and weather conditions were logged. Each bale was weighed, tagged, sealed in tamper-evident containers, and assigned chain of custody documentation. Body cameras captured all actions to provide legal transparency. By the time the search concluded, the vessel was confirmed to be carrying only the 19 bales. No weapons were found on board. The 3 suspects were restrained, photographed, and transferred to USS Gravely for detention. The cocaine was secured, bagged, and prepared for eventual transfer to U.S. authorities. Engineers inspected the vessel's identification plates, hull numbers, and engine serials to determine its origin. Intelligence officers cross-referenced this data against existing databases of smuggling operations. The vessel was later impounded. On board Gravely, the operation was treated with professionalism, not celebration. Interdictions are routine, but vital. The crew understood that stopping this shipment was more than just a seizure. It was a disruption of cartel logistics. Removing $13 million worth of cocaine from circulation meant one less payday for criminal organizations, fewer weapons purchased with illicit profits, and less narcotic supply reaching U.S. communities. This mission was part of a broader initiative known as Campaign Martillo, Spanish for hammer. Launched in 2012, Campaign Martillo is a multinational effort involving more than a dozen countries, aimed at interdicting narcotics shipments in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific before they reach shore. By coordinating patrols with ships, aircraft, and intelligence sharing, participating nations seek to raise the cost and risk for smugglers, forcing them into less efficient and more vulnerable routes. In this case, USS Gravely, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer designed primarily for high-intensity combat, demonstrated its flexibility in law enforcement and counter-trafficking operations. Its powerful radar systems allowed it to detect small craft at long ranges. Surveillance from the P-8 Poseidon provided additional confirmation, and the Coast Guard Detachment ensured legal authority and specialized expertise in boarding and seizure. The result was a tightly coordinated operation where every step, from initial detection to final evidence processing, followed strict protocol. Detection to boarding occurred within an hour. The suspects were detained without violence. The contraband was preserved for prosecution. By the time the sun set on May 25th, the USS Gravely had not only stopped a $13 million shipment of cocaine, but also reinforced the message to traffickers. No smuggling route in the Caribbean is safe from detection. This single bust will ripple far beyond one ship and 3 men. Cartels lose money, credibility, and operational security when shipments vanish. Every bale seized offshore represents thousands of street-level doses removed from circulation, and every successful interdiction builds the broader case for dismantling trafficking networks. 1 destroyer, 1 Coast Guard detachment, 19 bales, 860 pounds, $13 million, removed from the sea before it could reach land. That is how the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard execute maritime interdiction: disciplined, precise, and effective.